Good morning, world. So, my name is Destiny, and I am a first year master's student at the Warner School of Education studying higher ed student affairs. And don't mind my room because it's always messy. You guys caught me on a good week. And I'm also really excited because my hair is straight, and we never see that often. But anyway, as an introduction to our project, I just want to talk about my personality a little bit, which I feel is very introverted. I really identify with my horoscope sign, which is Pisces, and we're very sensitive, introverted, and intuitive. And so that's how I go into Mindsight and thinking about it and reading this book and Siegel's ideas.
Hey everyone, my name is Grace. I'm just going to do a little intro here. My role here at the U of R is I am a full time grad student in the higher ed student affairs program. I am a graduate head resident in the freshman quad in the building of Gilbert. I am the graduate assistant for conduct in the Center for Student Conflict Management under ODOS. And I'm an intern for alcohol and other drug education also in ODOS. And I'm also the co-chair of the Higher Ed Student Association program. I'm very interested to read Mindsight. I think as someone who has always been very emotional, as someone who's been very emotional myself, I think it's gonna be interesting to approach that. I think it's gonna be interesting to process my emotions and process maybe some certain things that I had emotions about but I did not deal with. I was a psychology major in undergrad, so I think the concept of mindsight in overarching, even though I don't know much about it yet, overarching is, I got a text, sorry. I think overarching, I'm very like, okay, I can get that because of my psych background. But I'm very interested to get this insight into the reflective, into the whole processing myself because I think that's hard for me. So I'm excited to see what happens.
I am a quite sensitive person in my daily life. Usually, I can sensitively feel that someone around me is happy or sad. And also for myself, I can maybe easily get touched or angry because of the others' slight behaviors. I tend to pay attention to the people's relationship and their actions and their emotions and feelings. And I believe this is a good point for all the social science workers, including educators. I once pay attention to the things happened in my body and my brain when I have a kind of strong feelings. But I think the more I think of, the more I feel confused. So maybe it's a good time for me to read the book Mindsight to strengthen the ability of look inside my own heart and preserve the real internal states of my mind, which I believe is very essential for our well-being.
Me again. So today I'm going to be talking about my new thoughts and perspectives on chapter 3. And on page 47, Siegel talks about his need to take a year off of medical school to go and figure out who he really is. He said, quote, to do research on who I was. That stood out to me because that's something that I have never done in my life. I've been in school since pre-K, and I haven't had any time off. And every time I get the chance, I graduate, I'm back in school. And so I wish I took time off to do more things, more fun things, to figure out who I really am. I put things off because I want my resume to look good. So I always have jobs. I'm always doing something during the summer and never taking time to relax. So that is something that I always want to keep in mind because it can enhance our mindset, knowing who we really are, knowing what we love and what motivates us. So I hope you guys take that as well.
This particular part of chapter 7 really resonated with me when Siegel is talking about widening the window of tolerance. So I'll read the quote for you. Think of a window as a band of arousal within which an individual can function well. This band can be narrow or wide. If an experience pushes us outside of our window of tolerance, we may fall into like rigid habits and depression on the one hand, or into chaos on the other hand. A narrow window of tolerance can restrict our lives. I had a very traumatic experience when I was a senior in high school. I was in a very bad car accident, and the person that was driving the other car was in my class. We were both seniors together. He was, it's not documented, but when I saw him, I thought he was very high. And I was a mess after the car accident. My car was totaled. My entire left arm and my back of my neck were sprained, and I had no range of motion, no function. And it was really hard on me. I ended up just staying in Maryland instead of going to Minnesota like I initially wanted to. Anyway, when I read this part of the book, I think my window of tolerance was so narrow, the band was so narrow that I couldn't deal with my emotions. I couldn't deal with the whole incident. I couldn't manage it. When I was a junior in college, I studied abroad in Greece, and we were taking a religion class. My professor loves to draw things out of us, and it was 100% okay if we weren't like the same religion he was, but he definitely like tried to draw out things. So he was trying to bring out something in each of us by saying that an example of a time where people always find God or always find some sort of deity or some sort of spiritual connection is through trauma. When he said this, I was like, I think this is what I've been missing. I felt something, couldn't handle it, chose to ignore it because it was outside of my band. It was outside my window of tolerance. When I went through my traumatic car accident, I didn't feel God. I didn't have faith. I never prayed. I did not feel any spiritual connection. I think since I grew up extremely religious, I reflecting on this, I believe that since I grew up that way, I had an expectation of myself that I would have faith in an area of trauma. And I believe that when I didn't have faith in that moment, it was too much for me to handle. It was outside of my window of tolerance, right? So when he named this for me, I realized that I don't believe in God. I don't believe in someone out there that is like that. And I like had this moment in Greece, like, what the fuck? Like I'm sorry to curse on this video, but like honestly, I was like, shit, I'm not religious. So I think my my band widened over time, and it wasn't until someone named it that I was able to accept it at that moment. But it took me 3 years to get there. I honestly, this book named it for me again. It was able helped me so much to process.
The high school teenager Jonathan's story in chapter 5 really impressed me a lot. I guess most of us will regard the teenager years as the most unforgettable years of our life, since many maybe sad, happy, and interesting things happened in that period. It is said that from this chapter, our prefrontal area and mid area of our brain did not mature fully until our mid-20s. So maybe it will be very challenging but also essential for a teenager to practice more for the mindset ability and some self-regulation practice. And the biggest takeaway, new things I learned from this chapter is the 3 legs of stabilize our mindset lengths: observation, objectivity, and openness. Observation means one person should be aware of his or her awareness. Objectivity means one person should distinguish the awareness from a kind of mental activity. And this can free him or her from the maybe a kind of disorder mental storm. And the openness means one should accept and embrace his or her own voices, internal world. So I think with these three legs of the mindset ability, this three legs can enable us to stabilize our mind.
Hey everyone, I am back today and I'm going to be talking about the multiple selves, which is in chapter 10 of Mindsight. I love the internal family system parts, the multiple selves. I think it's so relatable for me in my life. I honestly relate more to the internal family systems. That makes a lot more sense to me than the selves. But I think it's such an important part of the book. Is like, and they say it here, like, in fact, these states of mind had for a long time simply felt like parts of his personality, natural responses to whatever is going on. And that's how Siegel puts it, but it's definitely like your parts are out there to help you, like they are, but it might not be the best like reaction. And you need to get back to your true self. I just love it. I think I have an issue with this. Like I'm not great. My parts come out. I think that's why I relate to it so well. Yes, throughout the book, Siegel does have examples of people who are blocked in some way. Their mindset is not clear because, usually because of some sort of trauma or incident that happened. Reading this entire book has helped me reflect that my migraines have been a barrier for my mindset. I have been having migraines since I was 11 or 12. And I have migraines about 3 to 5 times a week on average. And since I was 12, I grew up taking lots and lots and lots of Advil to get rid of my migraines, and I would 100% overdose on my migraines on Advil because of my migraines. And it wasn't really until I got to grad school, I had my first very severe migraine where I was vomiting. I couldn't eat anything, which usually doesn't happen. I usually feel nauseous, and I usually can't sit in bright rooms, and I have to just close my eyes, and the noise hurts, sound hurts, like smell bothers me, but I've never thrown up before. So when that happened, I was like, gotta get this kind of figured out. I think if I manage my migraines better, it can improve my mindset. So this is one of the big things I've taken away from the book. Today I brought some things that I have been using to manage my migraines. Like I said, Advil already. Advil is my pain reliever drug of choice. It was actually very bad. I became so addicted to, not addicted, I should say. I became so reliant on Advil that it was getting me rebound headaches. So my doctor prescribed me this metoclopramate, and I think he says it's a steroid. I was supposed to take it for 3 days in a row, twice a day, to just like knock out my migraine. It had a lot of really weird symptoms, and it was a little scary, but it did get rid of my migraine. And that this week when I had to take this, I had a migraine straight for 3 weeks straight, no relief at all. That was a bad time. So other things I've been doing, I brought all of them with you. My friend Dee gave me these like infrared migraine glasses. They're super cute. But they take away the blue light from screens, which is very helpful for migraine since that is a huge migraine trigger. I also usually carry sunglasses around with me because my sunglasses will also prevent the light from really bothering me. And light is a huge trigger for me. I cannot stare at lights. I also brought my ice pack, so you're going to see it's very weird. For me and my migraines, the biggest thing I found that's helpful is ice. So I will put this ice pack around my head like this. I bought this recently. It's awesome because they have like little ice packets in here and you can like move them. So like depending on where my migraine is, I can like move it around. Oh my god, it feels so good. I have a migraine today actually. Great. I've had it for a couple days though. It's fine. We're fine. It's normal. Yes, so my ice pack is my lifesaver. It's big and hunky. It velcros to my head, which is great because then I can sit up and read Mindsight. I can go on my laptop or whatever instead of just laying flat down. Yeah. I also brought, so I tried vitamin B2 as like a recommendation from a friend to help with migraines, and it made me worse. I have to say, it 100% made me worse. So I just gonna keep it there. It's fine. My doctor has recently prescribed me with Zofran for my nausea because my nausea's been getting so bad I will vomit. He's prescribed me this. I also have this is amitriptyline. It is my preventative daily medication for my migraines. And I have sumatriptan, which is my medicine to take. I'm running out, but this is my medicine to take if I feel a mindsight, not a mindsight, if I feel a migraine coming on, I can take this and it'll prevent it. Yeah, so basically I just showed you lots of fun things that come along with my migraines, and I think managing my migraines like I've been doing will eventually help me to have a clearer mindsight. I think having such a issue in my brain and such a barrier on functioning as a human life gets away my mindsight. It brings out my parts. It takes away from my true self, and I think something I've really learned from Mindsight is this is valuable. Even if I can deal with a migraine, it doesn't make the best grace possible. And if I want a clear mindsight, I need to manage them better. Yeah, so thank you for listening.
When I was reading the chapter Balancing Your Left and Right Brain, the first person that came to my mind is my boyfriend. He's really a logic and scientific man. He loves all the technological things, but he doesn't like to sense different emotions and express his own feelings. For example, if I ask him how to use this little scientific stuff, he can explain it for me over 2 hours. But if I ask him, what's your feelings about that person? What's your feelings about this activity? He just says, it's okay. I don't know how to say. So when there's a problem between us and I want to talk about it, I feel it's very difficult to communicate because I don't know his exact feelings. So I try to use some tips mentioned in this book. In the past, if I say, do you want to practice more about catching your own emotions and expressing yourself? He just showed no interest. But this time I said, do you want to learn more scientific things about your right brain? He showed a lot of interest. And he is willing to play this practice game with me. So I think I find a new way to communicate with him and also a new way to understand him, actually. Annie's story reminds me of one of my roommates during my undergraduate study. She's a really kind girl, but at the very beginning, I thought that she was very cool and she didn't like talking with us, and it seemed that she was not very happy and she was not very sad. So after being roommate for over 2 years and we became good friends, I found that because of her childhood memory, she just tended to escape from all the feelings so that some bad feelings cannot hurt her anymore. In the past, I think what I can do is only accompany her. But now I think I have more supportive materials and I know why she acts like that. So it's also the time for me to recommend this book for her. I think it will be very helpful.
How amazing was chapter 6 on half a brain in hiding, balancing the left and right of the hemispheres of the brain. This chapter was really emotionally moving to me because I could relate to Stu and how he was raised. And on page 105, Siegel writes that Stu's generalized recollections, the lack of recall for family experiences, insistence that relationships did not impact his life, suggests that he was raised in a home where emotional warmth was absent, and so was I. And not that my grandmother didn't do a good job of raising me, but my negative emotions were not validated, were not recognized. I actually just got off the phone with her, and she was talking about how my little sister was stressed about college last night. And she said, Diamond, what are you stressed about? You don't pay any rent. You don't have any bills. You don't have any kids. And so she always used to say that to me and my sisters when we were younger. And so that doesn't recognize how we feel. Yes, what we are going through right now is stressful for us. We probably don't have the same responsibilities as you do, but for our lives, for our mindset, this is something that we need assistance with. And so when parents don't validate their child's emotions and aren't able to be with them in that moment, they learn that their emotions aren't important, that they shouldn't feel this way. And so that's why Stu isn't able to, be affectionate and recognize his emotions. And so I find it amazing that he had his marriage last for so long. And if I could ask his wife Adrian some questions, I would ask her, did you ever feel like Stu didn't love you? And did you ever want to leave? Because I imagine myself in a relationship like that, and if I feel like this person couldn't connect to me emotionally, that everything was fine, I would have second thoughts about was if this was the right decision that I made. And so I wonder that, but at the same time, in the end, I was so happy that Stu was able to connect with his mind and have mindsight and have those emotions for his wife and for his marriage. And so I just wanted to highlight that it's very important how we treat our children, and it's why I am so interested in being a parent and being a good parent, and not making the same mistakes that my parents and my grandmother did, because I want my children to have mindset and have emotions, and I want to be able to express my emotions and be affectionate with my kids. And so if that's anything that I took from this chapter, it's that the right part of our brain is just as important as the left.
I don't know whether you have this kind of similar situation with me. I find that I often easily get angry with my family, especially my mother. In fact, sometimes she doesn't do something really serious, but I just can't control my bad tempers to her. For example, sometimes in the morning, maybe she caught me and said, "What are you going to eat? What have you prepared for your lunch?" And after lunchtime, she caught me again. "How about your lunch?" In the afternoon, she may call me again and said, "Do you want some apples? I can bring some to you now." And just before the dinner time, maybe she called again, the fourth time, "What do you plan to eat for dinner?" So at that time, I felt that my heart was beating and beating, and a large amount of anger was filling up my body. In Siegel's words, maybe I became unable to pause before speaking and acting anything. My brain just temporarily lost the capacity of creating me maps, you maps, and we maps with my mother. So it is very helpful to use Mindsight when this situation happens again. We can recognize what is going on inside us, and we can reflect on the experiences from a further distance with openness and objectivity, which also is I believe is very helpful for dealing with this kind of problem with my mother.
So a couple of weeks ago in class, I mentioned that chapter 9 of Mindsight was probably the most moving chapter for me in this book, and if not the hardest one to read. And because of the attachment theories that were discussed, and I'm going to try to not like babble or make this a long video. I'm going to try. And so the why it was hard for me to read was for the different attachment theories that Siegel talked about. And so he starts off on page 167 saying, being close to someone early in our lives gives us the clarity to know how we feel and the ability to feel close to others. And so going into talking about the different attachment theories, I'm trying to decide with which one I mostly identify with. And so I'm deciding between the avoidant attachment, where a parent didn't respond to a child's signals in a reliable and sensitive manner, even ignoring these signals and seeming to be indifferent of the child's distress. Then there is the disorganized theory, in which occurs in 80% in high risk groups, such as children of drug addicted parents, such as myself. And so, disorganized attachment results when parents show a severe and terrifying lack of attunement, when they are frightening to their infants, and when they themselves are often frightened. And so, why I'm struggling between these two theories is because I have parents, but I also was raised primarily by my grandmother. And I did spend time with my parents during the weekends when I was younger. And so maybe there is a mix of these two attachment theories there. And so I guess it's okay to be, I guess, confused a little bit. But I definitely, as a child, was scared of my mother, and I'm still scared to her to this day. Um, I can remember a vivid dream that I have as a little girl. I was sitting in the kitchen of my house where I lived with my grandmother, and my mother used to like to put this face mask on that turned her face white. And so in the dream, I'm sitting there, and my mother appears in the glass door in the window, and her face is white. And she comes in the kitchen, and half of her, like one half is human and the other half is like a horse or a unicorn or something. And that scared the crap out of me. And that's all I can remember to this day, but that dream was scary. And I don't really know how anything else I'm going to say ties into that, but I just thought I should mention it. My mother was very unpredictable when young. She had a temper. She has done things like poured bleach into my father's mother's drink. And so she's capable of anything. I've seen her throw water bottles in my grandmother's face. And I think I have two younger sisters, and I'm the first, and Diamond is the last. And so between the both of us, we got the most of her terror and abuse and stuff like that during those weekends when I was there. So that was pretty scary. And so to this day, I can't even really describe her, because talking to her is like talking to a preschooler, which hasn't always been the case. And I think there has been maybe brain damage or stuff from, I guess, trauma that she could have been through, or just drug use. Throughout the years, she's been on cocaine since before I was born. So that's nothing new, and I'm 22. So yeah, it's really hard to have a conversation with her, because she has like short-term memory loss, and every 2 seconds she'll confirm that she is talking to Destiny. So it's hard. It talked about creating a coherent life story and using the adult attachment interview in order for clients to kind of make sense about what happened in their childhood. And I've done therapy since my first year here at the University of Rochester, and so I've done individual and group, and it's been consistent. The feedback that I've gotten every time I talk about family, my childhood, and my parents, the thing is, they always say, you talk about it in a very historical, you're retelling a story, but lacking emotion. And I just say, like, I'm a very, like, I don't know, laid back person, and I'm like, yeah, that's life. Watching my parents do drugs, that's that's just life. And I didn't really, I guess, that was abnormal. That is abnormal, and it's traumatic to a child. So yeah, I got off tangent here, but let's see.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about mindsight. I think one of the overarching things I've taken away from this text, and I think it just initially when they say like your internal waves and your internal reality, I think those points in the intro and the beginning chapters helped me understand my dad so much better. So sorry, someone texted me. My dad is a very interesting person. Right now we're at this like perfect, like we're friends, like he's my BFF kind of like stage, and the same thing was with my mom. They have a lot of values and a lot of opinions, and we just vibe with each other. We're just on the same page about so many things, and they're both my role models in so many ways. But when I was little, my dad did not have a clear mindsight at all, 100%. And so I have this very, very vivid memory, and I must have been 9 or 10 or something. We were in the backyard of my old house. And it's a memory of my dad picking up my little sister Rosie, who was probably 4 or 5 at the time, and like picking her up on his shoulder and like spanking her butt. It's so traumatizing to me, honestly, because I don't believe in any sort of, I don't believe in corporal punishment, anything like that. None of it. I don't believe in it. I think spanking is not a restorative way to approach situations. I never have. And even at 9, 10 years old, it was not okay with me. I was like, this is not cool. Oh my goodness, though. It's just so vivid. And with that, too, my dad used to, like, have screaming matches with Kat or my other sisters. Like, he just used to argue. He was just not, he was, like, in the crepe scene. There you go. It's a perfect example. With the crepe story, that was my dad. He would yell for no reason. And it's like, dude, I'm not doing anything. Like, you're taking out your anger on me. Sometime around high school, my dad just kind of like, I honestly don't even know the word for it, because I think he just reflected and he was able to control the waves. He controlled his internal reality that had been so salient in my childhood. He just maybe mellowed out is the colloquial term for this, but honestly, he had a clear mindset. He was able to balance the wave. He was able to stop, reflect, and make it better. Like the crepes chapter, let me find it. I took notes on this. Man, it's so much here. This. Openness, observation, objectivity. My dad learned that. I need to give him this book after we're done, because I have learned so much about my relationship with my father and my father from this text. It's beautiful. I'm so happy. So also in addition, I'm so happy he has a clear mindset now. I think I think our relationship is 10 times better because of his clearer mindset. And I think maybe if I let him borrow this book and we could have a productive conversation about it after. So honestly, I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm going to make that decision to give him the book and see what happens.
So this is our completed video about our Mindsight reading.
Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you're interested in purchasing the Mindsight book, the link will be in our description below. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and yes,
All
tell
that
your
good
friends.
stuff. Yeah. And thank you for listening to our reflections, and we hope that our reflections on Mindsight has inspired you to reflect on your life and how Mindsight has impacted it. So, thanks.
Yay! That was not it. Oh God.